A few weeks ago, the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, was targeted by an apparent Iranian-aligned group of hackers. A hack and leak scandal was how the department put it, saying that they were investigating and that there was a violation. Now, they managed to get into his emails, it seems, published a series of unfortunate photographs, including drinking selfies with a bottle of rum and sniffing cigars. This is the head of the FBI, the agency, the domestic intelligence agency, to protect the American people, uphold the Constitution. There are a few questions about it. Of course, the right to a personal life, but also questions about behaviour, which have only kind of increased in scrutiny this week. A report in the renowned Atlantic magazine, allegations of excessive drinking, unexplained absences, paranoid behaviour of the FBI Director, Mr. Patel, are being made in this detailed report. He's denied the claims, said it's fake news, says he will sue. Let's bring in the journalist behind it, Sarah Fitzpatrick, who's spoken to a number of FBI officials, amongst others, questioning Mr. Patel's fitness for office. Welcome to Front 24, Sarah. Tell us first about the investigation. Take us from your first tip-off, that there was something amiss, something that needed in-depth analysis.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a very long, very diligent and detailed process that has taken place over many, many months. It is a portrait that emerges from a wide range of sourcing at every level of the government, which suggests a FBI director that his own colleagues find to be a potential national security vulnerability. There are unexplained, as you mentioned, unexplained absences. There are alleged incidents of drinking, to the point that his own security detail had to request put in a request for additional resources because they were concerned about multiple occasions in which he was unresponsive behind closed doors. And I think the most key point that comes out of this totality of this reporting is the fact that it is people from within the government that are sounding the alarm, who are very frightened for what this might mean, particularly in light of recent events in which the threat landscape in the United States, because of the Iran war and other nation-state actors that may find this opportunity in which the United States is particularly vulnerable. So it is a very frightening pattern of behavior that we have documented incredibly carefully.
Take us through a couple of these really interesting points, and you mentioned one of them. This is the kind of gets to the heart of the headline. The FBI director is MIA, missing in action. Where was he when they had to go through some pretty extraordinary ways to try to get through to work to get to him, essentially?
The language of the story is very careful, and I don't want to get ahead of that, but I will say that it is a pattern that has taken place on multiple occasions. And there is a lot of concern because the director of the FBI, for two reasons. One, the director of the FBI is among the most targeted people in government for foreign intelligence agencies. He is considered one of the targets for blackmail or other types of interference that can be quite sophisticated, and we know is a source of concern on a daily basis for high-ranking members of the government and the intelligence agencies. But secondly, the director of the FBI is responsible for making many of the most important calls that have to do with making decisions, life or death decisions, about how to respond to emergent threats, how to follow through on investigations. He has to sign off on what are called FISA warrants, which are a key part of tracking active terrorists who are believed to need to be under scrutiny. So it is a concern both about his availability to be responsive and cogent on a very short length of time. So that is among the reasons why people were raising these concerns throughout the government.
Let me mention a couple of these incidents, some of the key allegations within them. So one incident involved this request, as you touched upon, for breathing equipment, typically used by SWAT teams, hostage teams, because he's unreachable behind locked doors. Security detail allegedly struggled on multiple occasions to wake him. He appeared heavily intoxicated. Early on, meetings, briefings reportedly rescheduled because of alcohol-fueled nights, and described as drinking to obvious intoxication at spots like a private club in Ned's in DC. Now, his fairly curt response has been that this is fake news, that he will sue to go ahead and put you what you want. Essentially, this is not true. And you have to step back a second, Sarah, and just explain to us the process as well, because for those within the White House, they may say, well, these are FBI officers, these are others with a grudge. They may say that. So just tell us the sort of conversations you were having and the kind of motivations you feel that people had in speaking to you.
I would say that this is a very diligently, very carefully reported piece. Whenever we use sources that are not named, there is a very careful and diligent process to assess their motivations, what may be prompting them, what their level of information was, and we stand by every word of this reporting and the granularity of why these sources had something important to say. And I think it's really important to understand that these requests and this knowledge is not just known to people within the FBI, but we report that it was known to leaders at DOJ and the White House as well. So the idea that this was some kind of secret that only a few people who had a grudge might be trying to push, it just is not supported by the facts.
We haven't talked about yet the issue that you raised, the paranoia alleged incident, this so-called, quote, freak-out episode, I think April the 10th, so not long ago. Oh, actually, April the 10th, yeah, it's this April, is that right? Just talk us through what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Our understanding, based on people who were familiar with his outreach, was that on Friday he tried to log into some kind of FBI internal system and was not immediately able to access it. And that in response, there was this kind of immediate, quite impulsive, quite emotional outreach to lots of people within the FBI and outside of the FBI, telling people that he had been fired. And so this kind of was a spread, ultimately, of he did not wait for verification. There was it set off this panic within the FBI and really across Washington, including Capitol Hill and people calling the White House. And it was a spread of misinformation that ultimately, we are told, was due to a technical error.
I've seen some reporting.
And again, it speaks to, I think, oh, go ahead.
No, tell me.
I was just going to say that the incident, I think, is very telling and emblematic because it suggests, one role that the FBI plays in the American legal system is that they are responsible for investigating and vetting information that can be entered into court as accurate under the law. And they take this preparation incredibly seriously. And there's so much that goes into determining whether or not information is valid. And so I think it just speaks to a kind of a nature of his response at this moment in time in which it is quick to assume things that may not be supported by the facts. And that's really, really important in terms of judgment, in terms of discretion, in terms of all of those decisions that a leader of an organization like this has to make when the stakes are much, much higher than just being able to log into an IT system.
Yes, questions about the ability, professional behaviour was such a high profile, high pressured job with such importance as well. I remember here in the EU, there was an EU former official, high level, allegations for a long time that he was an alcoholic, that people would say, we were reported on this, we looked at allegations of it, that he was a functioning alcoholic, privately you'd be told, therefore it didn't matter to his job. Now, there was concern, and within a couple of years things were done about it. There was a replacement. In this scenario, as I say, we're hearing pushback from the White House that they don't believe this is the case, that they say this is fake news. There have been some reporting to suggest, and I'm going to quote one article saying this, that we're all just waiting for the word on his possible removal. Are you hearing anything expressing internal concern that there is a plan for a replacement going on?
Absolutely. In fact, I've already reported this. My colleague Ashley Parker and I reported this earlier this month when the Attorney General Pam Bondi was removed quite abruptly by Donald Trump, and it was reported that this was the beginning of what many believe to be a purge of cabinet officials. And on that list of people that were expected to be fired quite imminently was Kash Patel. So this is openly discussed in Washington, within the FBI, within the White House, within other agencies, people close to the White House. In fact, there are senior cabinet officials in the U.S. government who are openly saying that who will openly discussing and in some cases putting themselves forward as replacements for Patel. So yes, I think this is a very active live ball, but I think it's also important that uncertainty that Trump often and the Trump White House often kind of uses to their advantage, in which cabinet officials don't feel that they have job security, are constantly trying to evaluate where they stand with the president. And in fact, this is why we see so many cabinet officials, not just Patel, but multiple others, who spend a lot of time at the White House, not actually at their agencies or at their jobs, because they are so concerned about how the president may view them. And so as a result, you have individuals who are experiencing what I think is a very significant amount of stress and anxiety that is taking up a lot of their time and resources, and taking that time and resources away from things like active national security investigations, terrorism investigations, et cetera. So that's a really, I think, an unexplored, often, consequence of this type of leadership from the White House.
Thank you for your time and your thoughts tonight, Sarah. I think it's given us a lot of pause, and you can see Sarah's piece as well in The Atlantic online this week. Thank you for your time. Sarah Fitzpatrick, a renowned journalist at The Atlantic.